I have an expression that I use when dealing with certain situations, and it's called, it is what it is. Think about that for a second. Very simple. You know, a lot of the concepts and the programs and the ideals, philosophies that I advocate here on Live Life 365, both on this website, the video site, and the blog, is common sense, practical ways of looking at life. I've never I've never professed to be the guy that has all the new wave magical answers. I like to recycle a lot of philosophies that have been around for centuries, and I do a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I pick the brains of people that I respect, and then I put it all together into my own mind, and I come up with ways that are effective for me. And I feel that if things work well for me, that they should also work well for a lot of people. Now, I also don't believe that, or think for a second, that if it's good for me, it's good for the world. Because that's not the way it is, because a lot of people react differently to things. Most people look at things differently. But, and here's the big but. What? Did somebody say I had a big butt? See? I gotta focus. Here's the big difference. It is what it is. Some people do not let things go. Some people do not accept what is. Some people, instead of cutting their losses, dealing with a situation as much as they can, and then saying, there's nothing else I can do, let it go. Some people cannot let it go. It is what it is, to me, means simply, there are some things in life, some things that the powers above hand to us on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis, that there's nothing we can do about. Now, if you can't do anything about it, it is what it is. But you, as a human being, have the power of free will. You can control how you react to what it is. If your house burns down, it is what it is. It's horrible. If someone cuts you off on the freeway and just cut you off, and they're just blatantly, and they look the other way, they may even give you the one finger salute, it is what it is. We can't do anything about that person. We can't do anything about the hurricane that hits you. We can't do anything about the earthquake or the fire. It is what it is. We can't do anything about your boss acting like a big, whatever, and ruining your day. But you can control how you deal with it, how you react to it, how you deal with it in the short term and in the long term. It is what it is. This is a generalization. Excuse me, it is what it is right now. I have a runny nose. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it except for use a Kleenex. Okay? Now I can cut this tape and I can, re-edit, and you won't even know that. But it is what it is. Mike's got a runny nose. Why? Well, it's weird, but ever since I came back from my trip back east, I've been reacting to these to the allergies out here. So maybe it's just because I went from one climate to the other. Hopefully I'm not coming down with something. Here's the bottom line. It is what it is. You have the power to react in the way you want. I strongly suggest you react in a positive, well-meaning way. And if you react in a negative way, because we are human, and someone cuts you off and you're like, "Jay," and you freak out, you can then say, hey, it is what it is. You can control it after that. See, I'm a reactor. I react. But what people learn from me who've been around me long enough, and God bless my beautiful wife of 15 years, what they understand is once I let it out, then I bring it back down. I let it out, assess the situation in nanoseconds, and then say, okay. I'm not saying I'm perfect, because sometimes I do want to follow that guy who cut me off and, drag him out of his car and, discuss things with him very firmly. But you can't. And that's just a really small thing. There's other big issues. There's issues like, I had financial problems and I lost my house. Well, it is what it is. Now, you could have dealt with situations leading up to that better, I'm sure. Or maybe you couldn't. Maybe you and your spouse both lost their jobs at the same time and you had to take your medicine. Well, it is what it is. It's a horrible thing that's happened. But here's what you can control and what you need to control. How you deal with it moving forward. You cut your losses, you dealt with that part of your life, and then you said, I'm going to rebuild and I'm going to be positive. And I'm going to take care of business. Because life offers us second chances all the time. Some people dwell on their misfortune and it ruins their life. Sometimes a relationship doesn't work out. And one side of the relationship is stronger than the other in terms of severing it. So people always get hurt in the cessation of relationships, divorce, breakups. It's a sad, sad thing because someone you once loved more than anything that you could imagine all of a sudden is telling you that they don't love you anymore. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you. Sometimes it's worse than the death of a loved one. It's the loss of a loved one that's still there and that you still within your grasp. And a lot of people have trouble letting that go. But it is what it is. It's sad, it's terrible. But you have to draw that line in the sand and say, this was my life before with so-and-so, and this is my life after so-and-so. And I've got a lot of good memories. I got a lot of bad memories, but a lot of good memories. And that was a part of my life that I'm going to cherish because that is my life. We only have so many decades. And you can't just say that that life didn't happen. But you're dealing with it because it's no longer there, and now you're moving forward. And you're not letting it affect the rest of your life. I lost my father. At a young age, I was 35. I could do nothing about it. My dad died. It is what it is. Some people maybe wouldn't move on or change their lives, or some people would let that affect them in an adverse way for a long time. You know what it did for me? It changed my life more than any event ever in a positive fashion. Oh, I went on a tailspin. I started drinking heavily. My marriage dissolved. I went bankrupt. My son moved away 3,000 miles. Excuse me. I'm not crying, it's the allergies. My life went downhill after my dad died. And I could have continued that downward spiral. And then something snapped in me. And I changed my life. I talk about it in my bio. I talk about it in Mike's resume. If you want to read more, listen more about it, go up there. It's under features, Mike's bio. It's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's long. But it's well worth it if you want to hear my whole life story. The death of my dad changed my life. I dealt with it, and I still grieve for him once in a while because, as someone that you loved your whole life. But it changed my life for the better. It is what it is. You have the opportunity to react to the way things are. You may not have the opportunity to change a lot of what happens. Because why? Because it is what it is. But what you can do as a person, and a positive person, and someone who wants to change their life for the better, and someone who lives life 365, and believes what everything that I advocate on this website is all about. What you can do is you can react and live your life the best you can be, no matter what is handed to you. No matter what it is. Think about that, huh?